The starting point should be the files. We should have a full transparency of the files, and then appropriately bring in individuals that are going to help answer the questions that we find from the files themselves.
All right, you look at J.D. Vance, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Trump himself with the Epstein files, right? These are people who all said that they should see the light of day. So now suddenly when they have power to not give them the light of day, it does beg the question, like, what is there to hide? Why not? You thought it was so important. Why is it not important now to know who consorted with the pedophile? Ryan, today, Trump was asked, because of that Todd Blanche, number 2 at the DOJ, meeting with Maxwell in the prison when she ostensibly mentioned about 100 names, that right after that meeting, Maxwell gets moved to this lower security prison in Texas in a residential neighborhood, minimal security, right after the meetings with Blanche. So Trump is asked, okay, did you know about that move ahead of time? He said no. Here he is.
Were you aware of, and did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
And do you believe that she is?
It's not a very uncommon thing.
Okay, Ryan, just to be clear, I think it's important to have a fact check here. It is uncommon for someone convicted of sex crimes and pedophilia like Maxwell to be put into a minimum security prison in a residential neighborhood. In fact, uncommon might be too soft of a word.
It's extremely uncommon, extremely uncommon for a sex offender, also at her early stage of her sentence, to be sent to a prison like that. In fact, it would require a waiver. That waiver would have to be issued by somebody very senior within the Bureau of Prisons and Justice Department. It's so unusual. President Trump just should have said, look, we're dealing with an unusual situation, so something unusual happened. That would be maybe some way of approaching it. What he said is just not plausible. And it is so unusual that you would hope that the Justice Department would have informed him that he would not learn about it in the news. You would think they would tell him because it's such an extraordinary step taken with a very high-profile convict.
All right, extraordinary, the more appropriate word. Tara, you've published a new article about the time you met with Juan Alessi. I hope everyone will read it on Substack. But he was the longtime house manager of Epstein's home in Florida, I believe. And reading your report, you talked about how he testified in Ghislaine Maxwell's trial about how he would drive her to spas and clubs around Palm Beach, including Mar-a-Lago, to scout for girls. That he was also a driver at times for some of Epstein's victims. That he had to deal with the day-to-day of Epstein's depraved acts. And you once asked, you said he once asked Maxwell, why did she stay with Epstein? What was her answer, Tara?
She said she couldn't leave him. She had to stay with him. And, from my understanding afterwards, she did sue Epstein's estate, saying that he would always provide for her in terms of covering her financially, in terms of all of her legal bills, which made me think that there has always been a sort of there's always been some sort of arrangement between them that she would be covered financially by Jeffrey Epstein if she committed these crimes for him. If she continued to procure girls for him, then she would be subsidized. Her lifestyle would be subsidized, because after her father died, Robert Maxwell, he died broke. I mean, he stole the pensions from the pensioners at his newspaper, the Daily Mirror, and left her with nothing. And she told her friends, according to my interviews with them, that she would say, I'm broke. And she lived in a 1-bedroom apartment on the Upper East Side afterwards. It was only until she met Jeffrey Epstein that she moved into a multi-million-dollar townhouse on the Upper East Side. So to sustain this lifestyle, she just had to find 3 girls per day for him. So she was the Bonnie and Clyde. She is very much involved in this. And she cried that she didn't want to be a part of it, but at the same time, she didn't want to give up the high life. That was the price for her.
Right. And an explanation is not an excuse for such depraved acts and disgusting acts as you describe them. Thank you all so very much. I am grateful. And next, a close Trump ally who is usually in lockstep with the president tonight, breaking with Trump and insisting that the Epstein investigation is not a hoax. Plus, Trump today on the White House roof talking about installing nuclear missiles and tensions escalating in Texas. The president now saying he supports the FBI getting involved, rounding up the Democrat representatives in the state capitol who fled the state.